Hold it. Before we begin, two big announcements. The first one, yes, I did get my hair cut, thank you for noticing. The second big announcement is that starting next Saturday on June 27th over at twitch.tv/Professor Thorgy, we're going to be doing a week-long charity stream. It's going to be called Fight for the Future. It is all based around fighting games. We're going to be playing fighting games for almost 10 hours every single day for a week. I made a video making an announcement about this, but I made it over on our gaming channel, so a card for it will be popping up right here. But I need to make some kind of an announcement here, so all the people on the regular channel, on the Professor Thorgy channel, we know about it as well. We're raising money for Direct Relief. It is a charity organization that provides medical supplies such as PPEs to doctors around the world. Something very important when we're all in the middle of a pandemic. So I want to get that out of the way, make sure that everybody knew about. Like I said, there's a card popping up for it, or it's already popped up, and it will give you more information on that. Whew. Okay, so Doom Patrol is out.
I haven't watched it, but
you have not, yes, but as I've said many times before, it is way easier for me to talk about shows when I have someone here to talk about it with. Mm-hmm. So
instead of just the camera.
Yeah, exactly. I need someone to bounce this stuff off of. Mm-hmm. But I think it'll be very interesting to have you here for this, because how much do you know about Doom Patrol?
I don't know anything about Doom Patrol.
It is a niche comic book franchise out there. But it's one of those things, it's one of the weirder corners of the DC universe. It began back in the 60s, and the thing that was probably the most notable thing for back in the 60s was it's the thing they kind of ripped off the X-Men from, because it was a group of misfits. It was supposed to be like, oh, these are the heroes that society doesn't like. And it was basically a bunch of people who had fallen on, let's to put it very lightly, fallen on rough times. Like, their powers weren't exactly seen as blessings. Although the original cast was kind of weird, because it was this doctor who got them all together, and the doctor was a guy in a wheelchair. So again, the X-Men totally just ripped him off. But then there was Robot Man, a guy who was a race car driver, got into an accident, and they put his brain inside of a robot. But
I thought you were gonna say put his brain inside of a race car.
Oh, that'd be better. That would be way better. I'm amazed they have never done that in Doom Patrol. They never gave him a new body that just transformed into a racing car. See, that's a storyline. Gerard Way, call me up. Lead singer of My Chemical Romance. I'll tell you how to write the new storyline. That's something that you don't understand at all if you don't know the Doom Patrol. Yes, Gerard Way is the current writer on Doom Patrol, the lead singer of My Chemical Romance. That's what he's doing now.
Isn't he also doing Umbrella Academy? Or?
Yes, he is the guy who did Umbrella Academy. Yeah. So they picked him up from that and brought him over to Doom Patrol, and was yeah, that's a good fit. But back then, like I said, when the team was found, there's also Negative Man. He was a astronaut who ended up running into some weird cosmic being, crash land, and now his body is completely burned, so he's covered in bandages at all time. But his powers, he can have this space ghost creature come out of him, and it stretches around and does stuff, but if it's out of him for too long, he dies. So not exactly the most useful power in the world.
No, but it's these are very interesting powers. They remind me of My Hero Academia.
Yes. Oh, man. Oh, he's totally just the Shadowbird guy.
Yeah.
He very much is that guy, except that guy has full control over it. This guy's well, it comes out and I could die and I can't really move my regular body when I do stuff. Yeah, and then there was Elastigirl, and Elastigirl in the 1960s was just a woman. That's all. Back in the 1960s, if you were a female character on a superhero team, you were there because they needed a female character on a superhero team. It wasn't until way later that they were oh, everybody else is kind of cursed by her powers. She just has stretchy powers and she can grow. There's really no reason why that's a negative for her.
Isn't Elastigirl also from The Incredibles?
Yes. If you'll notice, this season on the Doom Patrol show, I don't think they ever say her superhero name once, because they're oh, we know you wouldn't think of that. Which that was something that when they actually created the Incredibles, I remember a lot of people at the time going but there's already oh, no, never mind, no one knows her.
That's how obscure Doom Patrol is.
But I remember back when I was a kid, finding out about the Doom Patrol, I was looking up what all the negative sides of their powers were, and then it got to her, it's she has no negative sides to her power.
The negative side is that she's a girl.
Yeah, she's a girl in the 1960s, so she's going up to Robot Man and Negative Man, and they're just oh, everyone hates us for our powers. And she's oh, what's that like? Tell me about that. But eventually they did like change or something. It's like, yeah, she has elastic powers and she can stretch and she can grow and stuff, but you can't really control it, so sometimes she just dissolves into a pile of goo. Yeah, they've done different stuff with her over the years. And it's like, okay, now you fit on this team. But Doom Patrol over the years, it went on to become something very different. Well, not even more different. It's more that they just focused on like, okay, this is a weird niche thing. Let's get weirder and nichier with it. And they brought on some of the craziest, trippiest writers throughout comic book history to revamp that team over and over again. And this Doom Patrol show leans into that heavily. Like, the big villain of the entire storyline is this guy called Mr. No, wait. Is it Mr. Negative? I'm forgetting the name. Hold on, I had to go and look that up. His name is Mr. Nobody. The big villain of the whole thing is Mr. Nobody. And basically he's kind of like the narrator. And I mean that literally, but it's kind of like his superpower is he's the narrator.
No.
Yeah, I'll go into more detail about that, but there's a moment in which someone tells him, like, who are you talking to right now? And he goes, Grant Morrison fans. For anybody who knows comic books, Grant Morrison is like a Scottish dude who just took a whole bunch of drugs and never got off them.
Oh, like, I thought, like, when you said he's the narrator, like, his power is narrating, is like, I thought, like, he would be, like, the voice that everyone hears, like, who's that speaking? Like,
yes, I did mean that.
Oh, you did?
But he also does appear physically at times. But he is a guy who he has total awareness of the fact that they're in a TV show. Like, I mean, throughout the entire first episode, you're getting the origin of each of these characters, and you're hearing this guy talk about them and describe them all, and then towards the end, it's just like, oh, enough of this crap, and then all of a sudden stuff starts going downhill, and the narrator's just talking about, like, how much he hates all of them. It's like, where did this come from? And then it's revealed, oh, the narrator's the villain, and he's been talking to us the entire time. And as the show goes along, he does weird, freaky stuff with them, like, he causes them all to have flashbacks to their terrible... Yeah, like, he can do that. He just, like, will say, like, and then they had a flashback, and, like, and then they're doing it. Or there's a moment in which he has to go in there and kidnap someone, and they all turn to him, and he goes, and it felt like time slowed down, and then they all just slowed down.
Like, basically he has, like, God powers.
Yes! He is God tier. Yes, he is absolutely God powered. Yeah, it's... They lean into the crazier sides of the Doom Patrol mythos in here, and I was really wondering how that was going to work, and I gotta be honest with you, 90% of the time, I think it really works. And for anybody wondering why we're talking about Doom Patrol right now, as I said, Season 2 of it is coming out on the 25th. So, alright, good time to do that. But this show premiered on the DC Universe streaming app thing. I don't have that. And I know people are going to go, yeah, but you're a comic book guy. Why don't you have that? It's because when that thing originally came out, all they had was the Titan show on there, and I looked at that and went, oh, that looks terrible. So I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to wait until there's, and also, I'm not going to pay a regular monthly fee if they're not going to have, like, a wide variety of stuff there. Like, I know a lot of people have told me, like, well, yeah, but the main reason why I use it is because they also give you comic books for free. And I'm like, I think I own every DC comic I want to own. There's nothing new I'm discovering at this point. I've been around for a while. I don't really have a need for that. So I'm like, I'm going to wait until there's, like, several seasons of something that I want to watch, and then I'll subscribe to that. And the only thing that I've really been that interested in was the Young Justice show, because they brought Young Justice back, and they gave it a season 3 and 4. But people kept, and I'm sorry people, but I gotta put it out there. People for months and months and months kept coming to me. It's like, when are you getting that DC streaming service? When are you gonna talk about Titans? When are you gonna talk about this? 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 And eventually, that just became everything that I heard whenever I thought of that DC streaming service. I just went, I don't care anymore. I'm not doing it. I'm sorry. I do not care what good stuff gets on there. I don't care how good everybody says something is. I'm not, because the moment that I sign up for it, like, that's all I'm going to be able to hear, and I'm not going to be able to judge any of this stuff fairly. I'm not going to be able to do that because it's now associated with a thing that people would not leave me alone about, so I'm not doing it. I'm sorry. I'm not. It probably was only like 2 people out there who kept doing it over and over again, and honestly, that's how it typically is with this sort of thing, but those 2 people ruined it for everyone. I'm sorry. I'm not doing it. However, I did sign up for HBO Max.
Yes.
And DC, because they're paired up with HBO, just went, well, this show is really our most critically acclaimed thing, and we need some money. So do you think you could put on HBO Max? And they're like, yeah, sure. And it's on HBO Max. So I went, you know what? I finally had the opportunity to watch it without all the noise around it. Let's put it like that. So I watched it, and I gotta be honest with you guys. Yeah, this is really good. This is insanely good. It's so good my voice is cracking at. Because I was nervous about this thing. The trailer looked good. The trailer did look good. However, a lot of people kept saying it was good. But I'm going to be real with you guys. A lot of the people who were saying it was good are also the same people who kind of like every superhero thing no matter what. It's the same people who kept telling me that Arrow was really good. And I tried Arrow. No, it's not. It's maybe it gets good after season 2, but that's 26-hour-long episodes to get through. No, that ain't good. It ain't happening. Yeah, I saw so many people out there who was like, everything superhero related is good, saying that this is good. I was like, I can't trust you. Doubt intensifies. But yes, take it from me, the big humbug of our community. This show is really freaking good.
Yeah, sometimes you need to be a humbug.
Yeah, gotta be a little bit jaded at times. But yeah, this thing is really damn good, and it's not good because, oh my god, they said a thing that I know from the comics, so I clapped at it. It's not that. It's just a well-constructed series with likable characters and really good acting. Oh my god, the acting. Nobody is slumming it on this show. Like, Robot Man is being played by Brendan Fraser. And Brendan Fraser used to be an A-class star, and he hasn't been in anything for a long time, and now he's going to DC streaming service. I'm like, oh no, poor Brendan Fraser.
Yeah, he's had it rough.
He has, yeah, especially when you look into like what has happened to him in his life. You're like, oh wow, oh, you feel so bad for that guy. But I was like, oh man, a former A-class actor going to like a DC streaming service, that's, oh, he's probably just gonna like slum it. He's just gonna be like, I'm only here for the check, man. I just need to eat. No, he brings his all into this. He is perfect in this role. And it's so weird because it's not what you would expect from Brendan Fraser. Because Brendan Fraser, he had this reputation for being squeaky clean. He was like the nice, sparkling, family-friendly action hero guy out there. That's what he used to be known for. This show is raunchy. Like, really, really raunchy. And that is one of the small complaints that I do have to give this thing, is that when that Titans show premiered and they had like Robin saying fuck Batman, I was like, oh my god, this is the definition of try hard. This is a DC executive on his hands and knees going, please, someone just say the phrase, this isn't your daddy's blank. I just need to hear, like, oh my god, guys, just calm the fuck down, all right? It just felt so desperate to me. And this show, it is just constant vulgarity, constant cursing, constant like gross imagery, constant adult situations, for lack of a better term. But it fits. It absolutely fits. But there's like 10% of the time where you're like, all right, you're now leaning into it a little. You're now leaning into it a little bit too hard. Like, a lot of times in here, it fits and it feels natural. But then there are those moments where it's like you're just putting an F-bomb in there just because you can put an F-bomb in there. But the weirdest part is the king of the F-bombs on the show is Robot Man, Brendan Fraser. His entire personality is, oh, fuck this. That isn't, like, not even just, like, saying, oh, fuck this, but, like, with that inflection to it, like, I'm done with this bull crap. He is a guy who he has just seen too much, and he just does not care anymore, and he just, every single day that he runs into something weird and new and freaky, he doesn't want any part of it. He is done with it, and it's so relatable. Oh, it's one of the best. It's one of the best roles of Brendan Fraser's career. And again, I just have to applaud. He leaned into this thing. Like, he showed up to work. God bless that man. But you know what? Honestly, everyone on this show did. Like, Elastic Girl. I'm sorry. The character's name is Elastic Girl. In Incredibles, it's Elastigirl. That's how they got around that. It just occurred to me. It's like, oh, that's how.
Oh, they just changed one letter.
They took one letter out. They took one letter out and they didn't get sued. It just occurred to me. It's like, oh, that's how they got around that. Okay. All right. But yeah, her name is Rita Farr. She is an actress from the 1930s who, on this one jungle picture, ended up falling into this river and getting exposed to this weird toxic chemical, like this weird, like, I don't know if it was toxic, I don't know if it was like some ancient plant thing in there, but it gave her like elastic powers, and now, because she has these powers, she's basically immortal. and she still acts in modern day sayings like a 1930s actress.
So basically it's like her superpower is Botox.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Which, man, I mentioned how like they have changed Elastigirl around where now it's like, well, she can't really control her powers, so that's how she fits on this team. I remember there was like at one point, because like I said, with Robot Man, Mr. and Negative Man, they knew what they wanted to do with them. With her, like, many people have tried, like, okay, how does she feel on the team? There was at one point in time where she was walking around and she had the big, like, Stepford's wife smile on at all times. And it's like, yeah, she is 100% just, like, low with Botox right now because she's, like, made of plastic and she can't control herself. What the hell was I about to say? But yeah, that actress nails it. She does a wonderful job of being this, like, very proper 1930s actress lady, but in the modern day saying, and of course surrounded by weird freaks who are constantly just screaming out obscenities. Hey, Peach. Num, 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 num. However, the MVP of the show, I mean, I think I said Brendan Fraser was the MVP, but as far as characters go, my personal favorite had to be Negative Man. Larry Trainer, I think, is his real life name. They changed him around, and one thing that they changed about him is that this is one thing that I have to make clear right now. Rita Farr was from the 1930s. Larry Trainer, what's that his name? I'm afraid that's someone else. I'm just saying someone else's name. But yeah, Larry was definitely his name. But Larry, Negative Man, he was an astronaut in the 1950s, 1960s. Robot Man was a race car driver back in the 80s. There is another character in there, Crazy Jane, which she is someone with 80 split personalities, but every single split personality has a different superpower.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's actually kind of a cool idea. I think she was introduced in the Grant Morrison run, which I have not read, but everybody recommends me reading it. She was around in like the 1970s.
So it's like people from different decades.
Yeah, and they're all immortal in one way or another. And Peach, do you want to get over here? Do you want to get over here?
You want it on his lap?
Yeah, go on.
There you go.
There you go.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. His legs are longer, therefore his lap is bigger.
Yes. But so that's one thing that I have to make clear is that, yeah, they're all kind of basically in one way or another immortal because Mr. Robot, because Robot Man, he's a robot. Negative Man, he's got an alien inside him keeping him young. Elastigirl, she's made of elasticity, so she doesn't like age at all. I don't know why Jane doesn't age, but she's got 80 different powers. One's probably immortality, makes sense. One of my mild complaints with the show is that they do not even touch on the fact that, oh yeah, you all just happen to be immortal until like the very last episode.
Oh.
And I was like, okay, it is screaming in my face right now. How is nobody bringing up this very weird connection you all have? At the very end, they do kind of bring up, it's like, okay, yeah, okay, that's good. And it is a good reveal. It is a good reveal about why they all happen to have these powers. But Peach, you just want to lick that hand, don't you? But what was I saying? Oh yeah, my absolute favorite is Larry. One of the changes that they made to him is that back in the 1950s, 1960s, whenever he was around, he was a happily married man. Like he was that typical white picket fence. Yep. He was actually gay. And he had been living with this his entire life. He'd been trying to keep it secret. He'd been trying to keep it hidden. And one of the big things that they do with him throughout the show is that he's kind of having to deal with the fact that it's like, oh, it's kind of more accepted these days, yet I'm still like keeping all that bottled up and I don't really know where I fit in right now because he's afraid to come out so he can't really go out there and fit in with other gay people, but at the same time he can't fit in with straight people because he's secretly gay, so he's just kind of like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with all this stuff. And yeah, I think that they play with all that stuff great. The emotional peaks and valleys that they go through with his character, I almost said emotional Jerry, but I'm trying to pull back on that phrase because I know I overused the crap out of that phrase. They do great stuff with him throughout this. There is one episode that deals with this idea from the comics, this character from the comics that I know this one was created by Grant Morrison. It's this character called Danny the Street, which is a sentient street. Yeah, hold on, I'll give you a second to picture that. But yeah, it is a street that, like, you go on the street and you talk to Danny, and then, like, a sign will appear and, like, say hello back to you.
So that's how it works.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of weird.
So like a traffic sign or like a crossing sign, and like it just says text saying hello and stuff.
Yeah, or like they pass by the movie theater and the title on the marquee will be what's saying back to them. There's a moment which they go up there and one of those inflatable wacky tube men pop up to like say and just says hello on there. Yeah, it's a really interesting thing. But it's a street.
I just find it funny how like there's a sentient street and like Robot Man used to like be a race car driver, so it's like I'm wondering like how that would be, how their relationship would be.
They don't sadly get enough time to really delve into Day in the Street. He's only in for like 2 episodes, but they're really
like imagining him racing down the sentient street is like, ow, that hurt, or something like that. When you like,
But Danny, he can teleport. So it's a street that just like, you'll be out in the middle.
So it can be any street.
No, what I mean is you'll be out in like the middle of the woods and there's just a random street here loaded with buildings and stuff.
Oh.
Yeah, so it can be like, it's literally any town USA kind of like given sentience. Like you can go into any town and then there's that street that's like, that street wasn't there before. Like that kind of thing.
But if that's the case, then like would the street... Like, would the place he was originally from just, like, not be there?
I don't really know the origins of Danny the Street on this one. I'm gonna be real with you. I don't know how Danny was created. I don't know what the deal with that is. But Danny's whole thing...
Like, gee, imagine, like, using your GPS and suddenly the street has teleported somewhere else. So, like, recalculating.
That would actually be a really good gag. That would actually be a really good gag. If, like, all of a sudden they had GPS on, and then all of a sudden, like, a new street appears out of nowhere on there. That's actually, like, a good idea. That'd be a cool thing to do with that.
Is there only one season so far? Or?
So far, season 2 begins in like a couple days.
Oh yes, that's right. You mentioned that before. So like, maybe that's a possible joke in the future.
Possible. But Day in the Street, that is probably the best episode of the entire season, and it introduces this idea of the Bureau of Normalcy, which is a government organization that basically just tries to get rid of everything that's weird and unethical. And like back in the 1950s, you saw that like Larry was being kidnapped by him, and like part of it was like, well, yes, because you now have this weird sentient creature living inside of you. But you can also tell it's also because, like, yes, but also, aren't you happier with your wife than with this man over here? Like, you can also tell it's part of that. And it's introduced that they send this person in there to investigate Day in the Street, like to go undercover on Day in the Street, and the street disappears away, and then they go in there years later, and they find out that he's still living there, and he's transgender, and he's like, yeah, I could never accept that until, like, Day showed me, and you see, like, Day in the Street is basically like a safe place for people that society has shunned, like people that are discriminated against society. Day just goes where Day needs to be to let someone come into him so that way he can be like, hey, you can be yourself here. And there is an amazing episode where they meet Day in the Street and Negative Man goes in there and Larry goes in there, and there's a moment where like all these people are like telling him like, hey man, you can be you can be whatever you want to be, and they go into this club and like, hey man, if you're here, you gotta sing. And they put the mic up to his face and he goes, I'm not gonna do that. Come on man, if you're here, you gotta sing. And he gets up there and he starts singing very slowly, and it's that song, The People Like Us, and it starts building up, and it's this great musical number, and then out of nowhere, like, his bandages are gone, and he's fully healed back to being how he used to be, and he looks like he used to be, and it's this big, glorious, beautiful musical number. Tune out now if you don't want to see how that ends, but I was like, oh my god, this is so uplifting, and so, like, this is an amazing moment for his character, feels great. And then smash cuts back to him sitting there with the mic in his face. And you could tell all that was in his head. All that is what he wants to have happen. But he's just like, I don't sing. And he gets up and leaves and like, God damn. That was heartbreaking. Oh, man. It is amazing the stuff that they do with these characters. There's a moment in which there's one episode where Jane, she basically falls into herself, I guess is the best way to say it, because she's got these different personalities, and they all work together, except for like one or two that are like, no, my time, and I'm in here now. And after some things happen to her, she doesn't want to come back out. So they have to send someone inside, so through some means I won't get into, they send Cliff, Robot Man, inside of her, and Cliff, he has a daughter, and the daughter ended up, he thought that she was dead, but he eventually finds out that she's alive, and he kind of has to deal with the fact that it's like, oh, she's now lived 30 years of her life without me. It'd be too horrible if I come back. And there's a whole episode dealing with that, which is great. That has to deal with like an alligator and a pocket watch, but I won't get into that. But because he's missing his daughter, Jane's, up around, granted, she's like 50 years old because they're all immortal, but appearance-wise, she's about the age that his daughter would be.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of develops a little bit of a relationship like that with her.
Oh.
Even though, like, she's constantly like, yeah, you constantly, like, getting attached to me because I'm a stand-in for your daughter. Like, this show realizes what it's doing. And it's not afraid to, like, point this stuff out.
Yeah, it's like, it's doing something that's you're not supposed to support, and they realize that it's like...
Well, it's not like he's trying to adopt this person, but it's more just like, he's like, I feel like I have to protect you. And he feels like he has to protect her because... it's a psychological thing with him that he's trying to make up for the fact that he couldn't protect his daughter. But he goes into her and goes like into her headspace, and he's now in like these winding tunnels right into all her different personalities. And there's a moment like she's about to be lost forever, and he has to go in there and like no man can pass here, and he has to basically say like, well, I'm no man, and and inside this body, inside this like mental state, it's him. It's Brendan Fraser. He's human again. He can feel his hands again. He can feel everything again because he can't feel anything as Robot Man. Mm-hmm. And in this moment, he basically has to get rid of his humanity in a way. He has to basically say, I'm not holding on to me being human anymore because that's the only way that they'll let him pass so that he can go. And they're like, oh yeah, you are a robot. You're not a man. He has to like get rid of that. Mm-hmm. And it is a really touching moment with him in which he's like, I want to be human again, but I have to accept I'm a robot now because it's the only way they can rescue this person. But I've been talking a lot about the characters. I've been talking a lot about like the great stuff that they do with every single one of them. I have not even mentioned the character they threw in here who isn't even a member of the Doom Patrol in the comics, but is a huge part of this. Cyborg is on this team.
Oh.
Which is kind of weird to me. He's great on the show. But it was kind of weird going into this because I was like, but Cyborg isn't part of the team. Cyborg's part of the Titans. Beast Boy used to be part of Doom Patrol. Why not have Beast Boy on this show? And like, it wasn't like a weird, like the comic book side of me was getting kind of hung up about. But even going into it, even like putting that aside, going like, yeah, but the Doom Patrol, they're all people who they got into accidents in some way. Something happened to them. They can't lead normal lives anymore because of it. Cyborg, half his body was blown away, and now he's a cyborg. He's like, it makes a lot of sense for him to be on this team.
You have someone who's full robot and someone who's only half robot.
But that was the thing that, like, even when I put aside, like, well, he's not on them in the comics. Even when I put that aside, I still had that concern in my mind of, like, do you really need 2 robot guys on the team?
Well, 1.5.
Yeah, I was like, do you really need 2 robot guys on the team? They were able to sell me on that quick because the turnaround, I mean, going from, like, I don't know how that's going to work to, oh, it totally works, was quick because Cyborg, he's the latest technology. He is super hyper advanced technology.
Oh yeah, because Robot Man was like made in like the
80s.
80s. Okay.
He is a pile of junk. He is and they talk about that constantly about how like none of his parts work. Like there's a moment where like he gets like a piece of metal rod jammed into his body and they pull it out and then he's just got a big hole in his body and he's just kind of like, I can't this is just, you can't fix this? Like, yeah, no, man, those parts from you died out years ago. You just got a big hole in you now.
Oh my goodness, Peach.
Peach, you are so cuddly today. You just want to kiss everyone. But yeah, like, it's great, the contrast between those two, and they play it up a lot. But the contrast goes even beyond that because this is set in a world where, like, the Justice League exists and all these other heroes exist, and Cyborg is this big hero from Detroit, and, like, they keep talking about how, like, he's this hometown hero from there, and he's working hard. He's going out training every single day so that he can try and join the Justice League. Yeah, he wants to join the Justice League, and then he ends up, playing outside. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but I'm going to point it out anyways. But he wants to join the big, bright, shining superhero team, and he ends up joining the D-Class also-rans. Yeah, he ends up joining the Loser Squad. And I think it's kind of great because, like, they're constantly making fun of him for wanting to be the big superhero. Like, he's coming in there like, all right, we need to have a team meetup at 0800 hours. And they're like, what are you talking? We're all here right now. Why don't we just But like, he's so professional, and he's so like, this is how superheroes do it. And they're all like, we're not superheroes, man. And
he's like, maybe if I rise in the ranks.
yeah,
like,
kind of like that. Like maybe it was like, well, I'm
start
gonna
from the bottom and I'll go work my way up.
It's like, I'm going to beat you guys into a well-functioning team. You're like, that ain't happening. That ain't happening. But I love that he kind of finds his place among them. Like, this is so not the team he wanted to be a part of, but it fits. Like, it's like, this is so not the team he wanted to be a part of, but it's the team he needed to be a part of.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they needed him. He needed to, like, realize it's okay to not be on the big all-star team. So, yeah, it's a really great relationship between them. And I love that it's, as I said, there's a lot of superhero shows out there that get a lot of praise from people because, oh my gosh, they mentioned that thing and I know that thing. And hey man, I've been guilty of that too. I remember when the Marvel Netflix shows were coming out. Anytime that they gave me a crumb in one of those shows, I was like,
yes, but now we're past that.
But my whole thing is like, yeah man, we're past that. We don't need it. We have an entire functioning cinematic universe. We don't need name drops anymore.
Watch out.
Peach, come on.
Oh my goodness. Maybe I should put you down. There
Peach,
we
you're
go.
too squirmy. She is attacking her legs right now because she's mad that we put her down. But yeah, we're at that point now where it's like, you don't need to settle for just they said a name. You can get one of that. They drop so many names with Cyborg, but it serves a point. He wants to be on the team with those guys. So anytime that Robot Man is like, I don't know, maybe Aquaman knows. You have him on speed dial, right? They're making fun of him for that, and like, yeah, it works. That's how doing name drops actually works. It's great. So yeah, this entire team, wonderful. But I need to talk about like the tone of this show.
Yeah, you mentioned it was raunchy.
It gets very raunchy. It gets very dirty with stuff, but it gets weird. It is weird at all times. It is never not weird. And I'll be honest with you guys, I think the final episode, I think that kind of falls apart. I think the final episode to me, it kind of felt like they didn't know if they were getting a season 2. So they were like, well, we gotta wrap a whole bunch of things up. How do we wrap a whole bunch of things up? Let's just get really weird with the whole thing. And I feel like the last episode is the only episode where the weirdness doesn't work and the weirdness is just there to be weird. So yeah, I kind of have a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth at that last episode, but that's, this is like 15 episodes long. I got 14 great episodes there, so it's like, I don't care. And also, as I said, they probably didn't know they were coming back for another episode. Makes sense to me if you wanted to come in here and be like, okay, yeah, let's just try and wrap all this up. Like, it happens with a lot of great shows out there. So now they are getting a season 2. I'm very excited to see what they do with that. But it is a very bizarre show. And it's a show that doesn't care if you're on board with the bizarreness, which fits what they're trying to go for. Like, there is, like, in the very first or second episode, you see this town being destroyed by a giant hole opening up in the ground, and then it just cuts to a cockroach just over here, and the cockroach, who has the same voice actor as Booger from Revenge of the Nerds, which I don't remember that actor's name, and it's a shame because he's been in so many other things. Like, he's not one of those guys that's like, who's this guy from the 80s who hasn't worked in 30 years that we can get around? No, that guy has worked. That guy is a talented voice actor who has been in a lot of stuff. What was that? He was on a cartoon that you really enjoyed. The Dan Versus, was that it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was Dan. Yeah. But this cockroach over there, and the cockroach just stands up and starts going, yes, behold his glory. The word of our end times is upon us, everyone. And I am the voice of everything. It's like he just is this, like, street level preacher just talking about, like, end days. But it's a cockroach. And there's no goddamn explanation to that. Ever. Like maybe I fell asleep when they gave an explanation, but there is no explanation to it. Show doesn't care if you're on board with the fact that there's a cockroach that just every now and again pops up in a scene just to talk about the end times. And the cockroach comes back in a huge way in like the final episode, which again, I just kind of felt like you guys had more plan with that guy, but you had to put all your eggs in that one final episode basket. Yeah, it's very bizarre, and they don't care if you're on board. Like I said, the narrator at one point, he just flat out calls out the fact that they're referencing Grant Morrison and stuff. If you don't know who Grant Morrison is, that means nothing to you, but they're like, we don't care if it means nothing to you. However, if you can get on that right frequency, if you can find a way to live with that, I think that you will see all the good in the show. And I don't think that this will appeal only to comic book fans. I don't think that will, because there came this episode in which they were having to stop this cult. And the way they stopped the cult was actually kind of ingenious. But they were having to stop this cult, and these guys show up from the cult, and they have got like skull mask on and pointy hoods and all these things. And I looked at them and went, look at these Doctor Who rejects. And then I stopped and went, oh my God, that's what this show is. This show is M-rated Doctor Who. It is the R-rated Doctor Who. It's Doctor Who if David Tennant came in here and said fuck constantly over and over again. That's what this is. It is 100% Doctor Who, but raunchy. And everybody's swearing. So if you're into Doctor Who, I probably should have started the review off like this, because I know a lot of people who would enjoy the show probably tune out by now. But if you are into Doctor Who, that's what this show is. It reminded me, I have not watched Doctor Who since halfway through the Matt Smith run. I kind of got tired of it then. But I love the hell out of the David Tennant and, oh God, what was his name? The Ninth Doctor. Yeah, I love that.
That ruined it.
It is amazing when you can look at a show and go, oh, there's a clear change from one director to another. Oh, and you can tell when this thing went completely in a different direction. Yeah, holy crap. But I mean, if it reminded me of what I loved about Doctor Who. Just like I said, they cursed a whole lot in here. But again, I have to come back around to this. This is coming from a guy who has accused a lot of like the R-rated superhero stuff out there of being way too try-hard. This thing isn't try-hard. This thing feels genuine. It feels like, no, you've kind of earned your F-bombs. Every now and again, they try a little too hard. Every now and again, it is clear, like, okay, now you're just trying to, like, prove yourself a little bit. But aside from that, like, the vast majority of the time, they absolutely earn this, like, raunchier tone of it. So what else do we need to say about this? Yeah, and it also gets, like, I want to come back around to this. I've already mentioned it before, but they get really, really deep with these characters. It is amazing the amount of character study that goes into here. In fact, they even kind of like bring that up in towards the end of one of the final episodes, because in the first episode, I was kind of on board with the first episode. I was enjoying it. I was enjoying this, looking at all these characters. It was kind of funny. You know, they were trying a little bit too hard with some of the raunchiness in there. Like they hadn't quite found their balance just yet. But all right, they were figuring it out. But then there came this moment where it looked like it was about to become your standard superhero show. Like, there was this moment in which, like, a bad thing was happening, and they were running in there, and Robot Man was, like, picking up a thing to stop a thing, showing off his powers, and I just going, don't do this. Don't do this. Because this is you trying to be a standard superhero show. You are so not, like, all the things that work in here are the non-standard superhero things. All the things that work in here are things that no other superhero show would do. And I am so glad that you were doing it, and now it looks like you're trying to do that, and then after that moment, they never did that stuff again. They never did, and it just became basically a house of misfits with superpowers who just occasionally stop a thing, but they typically only stop the thing when it comes to them. And this is not a villain of the week show. I have to come back around to that. Another thing that I have a problem with when it comes to most superhero shows, they're villain of the week shows, and I get so tired of that so quickly. This isn't, yeah, they do go up against a variety of threats, but the variety of threats tend to go into each other. They kind of lead from one thing directly into the next. Only one of them really kind of comes out of nowhere, but even that kind of ties back into previous stuff later on. I'm like, okay, well, you know what, I'll forgive that one. That's okay. That actually worked out there. Although I will say, I'm referring to the cult when I say that one thing that came out of nowhere. There's this guy who is like a supernatural inspector of some sorts who knows weird spells, and he's British, and he smokes, and I kept looking at it going, why the hell could you not get John Constantine?
I was just thinking that,
yes!
Let's see, British man who investigates the supernatural stuff.
I was like, I'm sorry, why is this not John Constantine? What? Maybe, again, this is all based on like the Grant Morrison run on Doom Patrol, and I have not read the Grant Morrison run on Doom Patrol, so maybe he is a character that Grant Morrison made for that who just happens to really look like John Constantine. But dude, when you adapt this into a show, you need to realize the people who are going to be watching this on the DC streaming service, they're going to be asking that question of, why isn't this just John Constantine? Just have it be John Constantine. Yeah, so that was kind of weird. But yeah, I do love that this does not kind of like lead in, that all the like threats kind of lead into each other, and the vast majority of the show, it's basically just about like exploring these characters. This is a show that would far rather have characters sit around and talk than have them punch a thing. Which, granted, a lot of that could be a budget thing, but if it is, cool, worked out in your favor.
Honestly, I'm fine with that. It's like, I rather have like shows that have like character development than just like action, 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 and nothing being explained.
Absolutely. And what I love is that towards the end, like I think it was at the end of episode 13, they were like getting ready for their big fight with Mr. Nobody, the big villain of the whole thing. And Mr. Nobody, he exists in this big white space. And when you see him in the regular world, he's got like half his body missing as like this constantly like weird shifting form. Which, by the way, Mr. Nobody is played by Alan Tudyk. Alan Tudyk is the man. And I don't mean in this show, I mean in everything. Alan Tudyk is that actor who, if you need someone for something, he'll show up and he'll do it perfectly. I have never seen Alan Tudyk in a thing and then walked away from it going, wow, man, Alan Tudyk really phoned it in. No, Alan Tudyk will always be the thing that you need in any role at any time. You need someone to come on there and like do a Mad Hatter voice for your Disney animated show? Get Alan Tudyk. You need some guy to be a hillbilly for your horror comedy? Get Alan Tudyk in here. You need someone to be the big villain for your DC streaming service show? Get Alan Tudyk in here. Nailed them all. He is so good in everything that he does. And he's so good in this, and there was a moment at the end of episode 13 where they're all getting ready to go out and face Mr. Nobody, and then because of Mr. Nobody, they're in the white space, this big blank white room that he lives in, and he is now like wearing like a Doom Patrol TV shirt, a Doom Patrol baseball cap, drinking out of a Doom Patrol mug, and goes, finally, after 13 goddamn excruciating episodes of stupid character development, we can finally become the thing that we were always meant to be. A goddamn superhero show. And I love that this was basically the villain of this show coming in here and saying, we can finally be the thing this show should not be. And I love that's so smart. That is so goddamn smart. I love it. And Alan Tudyk just sells it so hard. Like I said, the only real problem I had with the show is that the final episode, it was like, oh, you guys just got weird for the sake of being weird now at this point. And it felt like they really were just going, well, we gotta wrap this up somehow. I don't know, just come on, man. We got think of something. We can think of something, right? Yeah, that's kind of how that felt. But again, this was on a streaming service that everybody was like, I don't know if this is going to work. And it's probably one of the more niche DC comic teams out there. So even the people who signed up for the streaming service probably weren't going to end up watching it. I understand them coming in here going, we just gotta like throw everything at the wall right now. I get it. I understand it all. But man, I am so glad that HBO was like, you know, we had some luck with that Watchmen show. Why not putting some money into this Doom Patrol show right now? Which is another thing that I gotta point out. This show has money in it. I wasn't expecting much out of this show. I thought it was going to be cheap. And as I said, a lot of this show is them just standing around talking, and that stuff is great. But whenever they do actually have to do stuff, they know where to put the budget on this thing. So just to wrap this whole thing up, yeah, it's not perfect. It does have a few problems in here, but nothing is perfect in here. And I do have to come in here, like, point out those little nitpicks. But yeah, I give this thing like a 9 out of 10. This blew me away, and it honestly might be my favorite comic book television series ever. So yeah, let me know what you thought about this in the comments down below. Also, I should point this out, and I should have pointed this out at the beginning of this episode. I said that this was going to be a video just for the patrons out there, but then I realized, oh yeah, the new season starts on the 25th. I forgot that the new season was starting up. I was like, oh, that actually makes this the perfect time to talk about this in front of everyone. So what I will be doing for the patrons is that on the 25th, we'll do a post-Geekout reaction just of the first episode of the new season of Doom Patrol, so you guys can get my thoughts on that. So you guys will get that then. So I do still have something for the patrons. And speaking of other things that we're going to be talking about there on HBO Max, we are almost done with the first season of Game of Thrones. So we're going to be doing our big Game of Thrones retrospective, in which we talk about what it's like to watch this show, having never seen before, and yet still knowing every single thing that happens in the show. And I am going to watch Watchmen. Never got to watch Watchmen because I don't have HBO, but now I have HBO Max, so I'm going to get to watch that. So how many more times can I say watch? Robot Man fished a watch out of a gator. So yeah, we will be talking about Watchmen when I finally get done watching all of that. Because there's nothing else coming out right now, so why not talk about stuff that came out a year ago?
There's nothing else to watch right now.
Okay. That's one of those moments where we should just both pause, like. By the way, talking about the future of the post-Geek Hour reaction, it's going to be a lot more of us just talking about whatever we want to talk about, because I do know that AMCs are reopening in July. Movie theaters are going to start reopening in July, and two big releases, Mulan and Tenet. Tenet, I've especially been looking forward to, are coming back to theaters in July. I ain't watching those.
No.
Because there's still a pandemic going on.
Yeah, and they said, oh, you don't have to wear your mask when you go to the theater.
They did go back on that. They did go back on that? Because that was the dumbest fucking thing you could possibly say. That was the dumbest thing you could possibly say. They did go back. They backtracked on that quick. They backtracked on that with the president of AMC with a piece of pink. I'm sorry, he got fired. Is what I'm trying to say. He didn't get fired, but I was going to say he had a piece of pink paper sticking out of his pocket, but that was way too many P words. Yeah, so he backtracked on that like the next day afterwards. It was like, we don't want you to wear masks because we don't want to get dragged out into political controversy. It's like, it's science, you dumb fucks! Jesus Christ!
What's political about not getting sick? Like,
oh my God. Oh, the way that science has been turned into, well, you're allowed to have a different opinion. It's like, shut the fuck up! No, you are not! Well, listen, you say that gravity is a thing. I'm going to walk off this building with an entire school bus of children tied to my back. Listen.
It's not about different opinions. These are straight up fucking facts. Like,
Jesus Christ! America is too stupid to keep existing, man. Oh. Yeah, wow. I thought we would get into this conversation when we got to Watchmen. But yeah, point is, I know that new movies are coming out. I'm not seeing them. I'm not. Screw it. Even if we got 100,000 views off of the Tenet review, which we would not ever get that many views off of the Tenet review, it's not worth it. Guys, it's still not safe out there. I ain't risking that shit unless I can go to like AMC in a biohazard suit and like one of those big yellow, what do you call them? One of those big yellow like
hazmat suits.
Thank you, hazmat suits. I ain't doing this.
No, it's like each. Have you seen like the outdoor yoga bubbles? Like.
No.
No, but it's like there's apparently like there's gonna be like these little domes where people do yoga, and it's like.
Hold on, is it your own personal bubble? Because here's like,
yes.
because I saw this. We're not talking about Doom Patrol anymore, but this is the post part of the show, everybody. This is the post Geek Out reaction where we just talk about the thing that we just talked about.
The pee-pee gore.
Yes. And then for the patrons out there, we're going to do director commentary on the pee-pee gore, where we talk about us talking about the thing that we just talked about. This is probably the most popular part of the show.
We just need Peach in here.
Yeah, listen, for another P. Listen, I already lost half the people watching this video the moment that I said I'm not signing up for the DC streaming service, so fucking I just say whatever I want right now. I saw the video clips of people at gyms now, and the gyms are like, they look like Magneto's cell from X-Men, where it's got the plastic encasing on it. And all I can think is, okay guys, even if you wipe it down, that's people breathing heavily inside of a cube that is going to capture all that air and just keep recycling it around and around and around. Oh my God! What is wrong with you?
Like,
That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works.
Like, I was literally imagining like domes around each chair in the movie theater because of this. Like,
but the thing is, like, yeah, that works if it's your own dome that you then fold up and take home with you.
Honestly, like, we should all just
I'm not going to sit in the dome that someone who just had popcorn farts had been sitting in for an hour and a half. I'm not going to do that.
We should all just get our own giant hamster ball to walk around in.
I'll do that. Then I'll see Tenet. God damn. I would say drive-in movie theater. Man, actually drive-in movie theaters are making a comeback right now. They're making a huge comeback, which is honestly kind of great. That's one of the only positives of this whole situation. But I live in New York where you can't get in drive-in movie theaters. I don't have a car. I couldn't do it anyways. Hey, Doom Patrol's really good, everybody.
So now that we're done rambling, maybe?
Yeah, I think we're finally done. Stay tuned for the director commentary on this entire episode. Actually, tell you what, patrons, would you rather just skip the episode 1 of Doom Patrol and just have me do director commentary on this? I'll do it. I got nothing to do.
Give us stuff to do.
I'm open to suggest. Listen, you're the patrons. You're the guys who pay us. You're the guys who make sure that I don't have to go to the movie theater to see Tin. Let me know what you want me to do, and I'll do it. So anyway, that's patreon.com/Professor Authority. Also, go to twitch.tv/Professor Authority starting next Saturday on the 27th. So that way you can see us stream fighting games for 10 hours each day for 7 days straight, all to raise money for direct relief. Speaking of the pandemic, see, it all came back around. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Coming next time. Bye.
Oh, wait, here's Peach.
Oh, my goodness, Peach just came in.
Yes. It is now the P-Gore.
Yes. Peach has learned the word bye. Like,
Yes.
like when she hears me say bye or when she comes walking in, it's like, now it's time for food, right? I'm not being fed right now. All right, buddy, we'll go get you dinner. It's dinner time.
Yes, it's dinner time for you, Peach.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.